This year, we learned about two different kinds of sequences. There are arithmetic sequences or geometric sequences. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at these two different sequences and see if we can remember which is which. Now, an arithmetic sequence is a sequence where you're adding or subtracting the same number every time. So for some of you, you could just look at these sequences and have a pretty good idea if it's arithmetic or not. And so, spoiler alert, this one is arithmetic because we're adding -3 every time. Now let's say that you didn't know that just by looking at it. One thing that we learned is that you can always take the second number. So in this example, we could take, we could take the 2 and subtract the number in front of it. So 2 minus 5 is -3. So in theory, we're subtracting 3 every time in this sequence. If it was me and I wasn't sure just by looking at it what was going on, I would just try that out. See, is 5 minus 3 2? Is 5 minus 3 -1? Is 5 minus 3 -4? And so on. And in this example, it is. So if we look at this other example over here, 16 minus 8, that's going to equal 8. So I would kind of ask myself, is it true that 8 plus 8 is 16? Well, yeah. But is 16 plus 8 32? No, not quite. And so what we would need to do is we would want to try to see if it's geometric. So if it's geometric, then what we could do is take the second number divided by the first number. So down here, let's change that minus sign to a divide sign. And so 16 divided by 8 is 2. So we're curious, is this sequence multiplying by 2 every time? Arithmetic sequences are always adding or subtracting the same number, and geometric sequences are always multiplying by a number. So in theory, this is times by 2. Oops, sorry for my phone. So times by 2. 8 times 2 is 16. Cool. 16 times 2 is 32. 32 times 2 is 64. So awesome. We now know that the red sequence is arithmetic and the blue sequence is geometric. And now, we already did a lot of the other work. When you have an arithmetic sequence, it means that there's a constant difference. Okay? And the constant difference is whatever number you're adding every time to go from one number to the next. So in this example, it is -3. We were adding -3 to move from one number to the next. So if it's geometric, then that means that it'll always be a constant ratio. And the constant ratio is going to be the number we're multiplying by every time. So we're multiplying by 2. Now the last thing we're going to have to do for these questions is fill in the blank. And so let's look at this. If we were adding 3, we're adding -3. If we're adding -3 or subtracting 3, means the same thing every time over here, then -4 minus 3 or plus -3 is going to be -7. That would be that answer right there. And over here, if we're multiplying by 2, as we move this way, times by 2, then 64 times 2 is going to be 128. Oops, there's a comma right there. And so that is the difference between an arithmetic sequence and a geometric sequence and how you can find either the constant difference or the constant ratio.